Welcome to DAX Machina. Join us as we explore the mysteries of this world. Cryptids, monsters, macabre tales, and horror stories abound. Could they be true? Are monsters real?
Good evening, folks, and thank you for joining us for another edition of DAX Machina. Joining me tonight is Anthony Pitbull Canatella, my brother from another mother, Carrie Pocket Doc Davis, and we have a guest in the house tonight. His name is Joe. Joe is going to be telling us about an incident that occurred with him a number of years back involving a Dogman. And I don't want to give away too many details because this is a really great story. I want you guys to hear this directly from him. It's a pretty incredible story. You guys keep Robbie in your prayers tonight. He is not feeling well. He's been sick for the last few days, so hopefully Robbie will be back on Saturday, but he is under the weather tonight and will not be joining us. Joe, thank you for jumping in tonight. Really appreciate you joining us in the studio, and I'll just kind of let you take it from here and introduce yourself, and we'll just jump right into this story.
Okay, my pleasure. I'm a truck driver. And this incident happened to me about 5 years ago, 2017. It was June, and I guess I should preface before I even start that I had no idea of a Dogman, ever heard of one, and so this is something that was totally out of my mind. I did it because I only knew about Bigfoot. That's about it.
Joe, you're kind of cutting out.
Maybe Loch Ness. What's that?
You're kind of cutting out there for a minute.
Oh, okay.
You're better now, but you'd cut out there. Oh, we lost him.
It's that damn satellite.
That's right.
I'm not even going to say it because DA knows what I'm going to say, and I can't say it on the air right now, but I'll tell Doc. We'll tell Doc afterwards.
Yeah.
There
he is.
Let me just see. He's connecting.
Yeah, we're having a little bit of technical issues getting him to connect. What's going on?
There he is.
There he is. All right. Yeah. We got you now. You hear us?
Okay. Yeah, perfectly. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, where did we drop off at?
You had just mentioned you were a trucker, and that's happened in 2017, and then it started kind of sounding very electronic-y and.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Well, anyway, I started, driving. I'm I should say before I get started, I didn't know anything about Dogman or maybe Loch Ness monster or something like that. So when this all happened, it was a mind blower because I had to figure out what it was. But
Joe, we're losing your signal again. It's really breaking up.
Okay, let me see if I can change my position here.
It was like it sounded like an old dial-up, like it just you completely broke up.
Okay, I'm going to try to change my position.
Okay.
See if that'll work. Okay, do I sound any better now?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, I could be in a bad spot. It just depends on where I'm at, I guess. Okay, I guess I'll start from, I guess we're at the Dogman thing. It was nothing I knew about before I ran into it. And I was picking up a load up south of Traverse City in Michigan. It was paper rolls, and it was heavy, about 43,000 pounds, and I was experiencing an air leak. I noticed that, in my brakes, air brakes, that I was getting low on air. It was building up. It wasn't real bad, but I didn't want to go all the way back to Kalamazoo like that. And it could have got worse. So I stopped where I knew there would be a place big enough on the side of the road that was like a snowplow turnaround, and I'm in the Manistee National Forest at this point. And so I pull over. I don't wait on service unless I have to, because that could be hours and hours of waiting. And I wanted to get home. I was home every night. I was married at the time too. So it was kind of a thing where I wanted to be home, at a decent time. At least usually by 9 o'clock at night, I would try to make it back. And so I was under my truck trying to fix my leak. I saw it was just a cracked line, and I have clamps, nipples, all different things that would work to fix a lot of little things that happen and occur a lot. And since we only pulled containers, we had those chassis that didn't get serviced very well. So, I was always ready to do that. And I was under my trailer. I was hearing things that it wasn't feeling right. When you have like a feeling that, the woods is real close, and there's maybe 20 feet between the road, a little bit of weeds, and then a dense forest, and I don't know. I usually don't get a weird feeling like that, but I pay attention to that, and it was an odd feeling in the gut, and I was hearing some odd noises. I don't know if they were vocalizations, but they didn't sound natural. And I was trying to peer. It was broad daylight though. It was like 7 o'clock, between 7 and 8. It was somewhere in there in the evening. And in June it don't get dark till like 9:30 or so.
Mm-hmm.
And and I was looking. I was trying to peer through into the woods where it was pretty thick, but there was areas where I could see where it was dark, and then it was lighter, and I knew something was back there moving around, because the shadows not the shadows, but the shading would change in different spots. And there was something back there that was dark. And I being in Black Bear area in country where I was, I thought it could possibly be that. And I wasn't, really, wanting to deal with a black bear either, if that's what it was. And, I'm not really afraid of a black bear that much, but, you never know if there's one with rabies or something, or, whatever. I didn't want to, I just thought it'd be best I'm done. I'll get in the truck and go, but I had this odd feeling the whole time. And I don't really think a car went by I was there maybe not even 5 minutes. It was like maybe 3 minutes. It was real quick fix, and I got in, checked my air. My air was holding, and everything looked good. And so, I'm on my way now. And so I look, it's a 2-lane road. It's paved, but there's no shoulder really now after I get out of this turnaround. It's just weeds. It says road, 2-lane road, paved, and weeds, and maybe 15, 20 feet of weeds. And then it's forest in both sides, real dense. And I'm looking in my left mirror to, see if anybody's coming up behind me. Nobody's coming. I get on, and I'm going up a hill. I'm heavy. I'm at the bottom of a hill where I stop. And this grade is probably about at least a 5 or 6, maybe it's a 6% grade. It's pretty steep. And I'm heading up that hill, and I'm going as fast as I can at a dead stop. 25 to 30 is about max, and until I get to the top. and it's probably about a mile long, probably all the way to the top, if it, somewhere around there. Well, I look out and something caught my eye on my right. Didn't have a lot of reason to look over there other than something dark caught my eye, and there was a wolf head trotting along right next to me on two legs, staring at me and looking all over inside my cab, and he was huge, and his head was as big as a grizzly bear, or at least or bigger, and with a lot of hair and like a mane.
And it was running right next to your cab?
Yeah, on the other side of my mirror. And I had the windows down, both sides.
That thing would have had to have been 8 to 9 feet tall to look in your window.
Well, actually, he was looking down.
Holy crap.
From above. Yeah, he was 10 feet tall, I think. The description of him was, he was all black, yellow eyes, teeth white as they can be, looked perfectly groomed. He was black skin, scars on he had a few lines on his muzzle where he had scarring. He was, his gums were black and pink mottled. His tongue was hanging out somewhat, and I would say it was like the size of a cow tongue. His canines were long on the bottom, just about as long as on the top, and they were probably 3 inches or so, at least, maybe longer. His teeth were really white too. It was weird, and he looked really well groomed. The tips of the hair would, in the right lighting, would like shimmer like silver. And he looked really well groomed. He didn't look dirty, or matted. He just looked really well taken care of. And
Tanya Willis wanted to know how much of the window space did the head fill?
I don't think he could fit his head in it, to tell you the truth. Yeah,
that's a big noggin.
I think that's why his hand was reaching in a little bit. I think he was testing the glass or something, and he did damage my door. Tore some rubber off and scratched down the side, and his hands were probably about, the size of my steering wheel, the way they were spread out with the claws, like 3.5 inch claws maybe on the end. They just went, yeah, his fingertips, not like our nails, but, like a raccoon like hand, but just 100 times bigger.
I've heard him described like that before, as like a raccoon's hand.
Yeah.
Joe, how fast are you going, man? Just curious.
Well, I wasn't going any more than 30. I was 25 to 30. I was going as fast as I could in that gear until I got to the top. Maybe 30 at the most.
Okay.
And it was like it was effortless. It was like he was almost walking, and he was so fluid and so graceful. It was effortless to him at that speed. And so I was going, of course, I'm like, I can describe the rest of them as I go on here, but I didn't see anything else yet until later. But that's what I saw right now. And, of course, I'm thinking he's trying to get in because, he's messing up my door, and I can't get my window up because now I'm like shaking, and I don't even know what to think. I thought I went into a time warp or some kind of Twilight Zone thing. I didn't even know what the hell I had to think other than that. At that moment, a million things go through your mind. Time slows down. Mm-hmm. And I thought, what did I go into some kind of other dimension? And now I've got werewolves running around me. I don't know it was just weird and so surreal that I didn't know what to think. I never heard of a Dogman. Yeah. So after maybe about less than probably 10 seconds, it felt like forever, but he was darting his eyes and looked like he was going to make a move. And, I think I was in the military, and training has a lot to do with how I still conduct myself today. And I, before I even really knew what was happening, was going through my mind, and it was giving me this. He was this look that he was really intelligent. Was giving me a look like he was wanting to get at me, and there's nothing, and like trying to give me the idea that, and there's nothing you can do about it. And I'm like, oh yeah, well watch this, and then that's it all. And then I pulled my gun. It's like sitting. It's not on me. It's not on my belt, but I have a holster rigged next on my seat on my right side. That I pulled it faster than. I mean, it was lightning fast, and I shot twice. I think the first shot hit him in the eye. He dropped like a ton of bricks. I watched him in my mirror. Watched him fall. He went, dust was flying up. He was plowing the weeds over as he was sliding, and he was stiff as a board. His legs and his arms were stiff. And he got a long tail. Now I could see the tail. It was probably about 5 feet long. He had the feet like a regular dog, the way, and his feet were like dinner plates. I mean, it was like insanely big. He looked like a horse size animal, that was just fell off a trailer or something,
Well, tell the people what caliber you hit it with, so they can understand.
Oh yeah. I was at the time I was carrying a Smith & Wesson Governor, which is a 45 Colt. It'll fire also. You can shoot 410 shotgun shells through it, but I never loaded it with 410s, and I used like a boutique round made by. It was made by Lehigh Defense. You had to have to special order it because the bullets are the cylinders in like a Judge and a Smith & Wesson Governor. They're two different. Well, they're real long for the shotgun shells, so they can make a really long bullet to accommodate if you want, and that's what I had in it. And they were milled solid copper bullets that were about 3 inches long, and they had a hollow cavity about an inch long into the bullet, and they were cross cut into an X where when it hits something like anything like a body or soft tissue or something, it opens up into an X pattern about 3 inches wide.
Yeah, so when you hit it in the eye, you did some traumatic brain damage to it. That's why the body's stiffened out like that when it hit. That's what'll happen on a lot of people too. Yeah.
And I just got lucky because it looked like he was going to make a move real quick, and the attitude that I got from him is that he was going to get me, and I didn't even really think about the gun until that point, and I just drew it, shot twice. I don't know if I hit him twice, but I know I hit him once, and that and he went down, and I don't know exactly where I hit him, but it must have been in the eye or something. It's not really easy to get into that, because that skull, I think it would have been a glancing shot. He was big, and I don't know if it would have penetrated. I'm not sure, but it might have just glanced off his skull, and then he would have been. But that's what I did at the time, and I wasn't thinking about anything but trying to preserve my life, because I wasn't even thinking about what I was doing actually. And I was like, did that just happen? I'm just looking, and I'm getting further away, and I'm like, I think, I'm not crazy, I know.
Right.
And the more I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know what the hell is going on. That's a monster. I don't understand what I'm going through right now, but I'm going to turn around, make sure that thing's dead. I'm going to run over it with the truck if I have to. Yeah, exactly. And I know I might damage the truck, but the company will have to deal with it. So I found a place. I knew where there was already a pull-off picnic area up when I got at the top of the hill, or a little ways past it. So I'm thinking, I'm turning around, make sure it's dead. I can't, allow something like that out here. running around or whatever. That's just what I was thinking at the time. I was just going through so much, and that was just what I was thinking. And I don't know if I would any other time, but at that time I was really freaking out, and I want to make sure it was dead. Mm-hmm. So I turned around. I got turned around. I knocked a couple branches off with my trailer, but it didn't hurt anything. I didn't really care at that point. And I was getting close. I noticed as I was coming back down the hill, and now I'm on the other side of the road from where that happened, and I'm looking over there and I'm seeing a vehicle, and it's a black Jeep. And this is probably 5 minutes later, by the time I get back there, something like that. It's not very long. And now I'm worried. I'm like, these people don't know what just happened here. I'm going to stop. And this thing that I just shot is not there. And I'm like, well, okay, maybe I didn't kill it. So, but I know I did, but I don't know what the hell. And I get down there and I stop and I say, "Are you okay? What did you guys?" I don't know exactly what I said, but I was asking them if they were okay, and they were in a black Jeep. It was a man and a woman, and they said, "Yeah," and I'm like, "Well, you need any help?" And they're like, "No," and I said, "Well, I don't know exactly the exchange, word for word, but I was saying, are you looking for something or like that? And can I help you? I mean, I can help you because I knew what just happened there, and I didn't want that thing crawling out or whatever was going on, crawling out of the woods, wounded and getting at him or whatever. And they said, "Oh, we were over here. There was a couple of bears over here fighting, and we thought we'd check it out." Oh, okay. Well, we exchanged a couple other words. They were looking at me like they didn't, like bewildered, like, why am I stopping and stuff. And, but anyway, I took off after that. I told them, actually, while I was still there, I forgot. I noticed I could see sitting up where I was in the truck as I was on the other side off the road on the other side. I had my flashers on. I could see a shotgun propped up in the back of the Jeep real quick that could be grabbed real quick. And at the time I speculated, I didn't know who it was. I think I know now who those people were, thinking about it more. But at the time, I thought they were, people that might have been locals.
How were they dressed?
They actually, the more... I didn't pay real good attention to that, but it seemed to me like they were in some sort of khakis. At least the guy was. I don't remember the woman as much, but I think the guy was like khaki type clothes, that color.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And
Tanya Willis asked, how heavily wooded was the roadside in the area where this happened?
Oh, it was real heavy. It was hard to see. And where I saw what I thought I saw was the shading in the woods, where it was really thick, was probably about 30 yards in. You couldn't see maybe past 20, 30 yards in the woods, maybe, and now you couldn't see anything past that.
Really thick.
Yeah.
And I'm just surprised no one. And these people didn't hear the gunfire.
Well, I was inside the truck and my ears were ringing like hell.
Oh, yeah.
So, I don't know how loud it would be outside the truck because I was firing inside the truck.
That's true.
I've fired from inside a vehicle before. It gets quite loud.
Oh, yeah. My ears were... but that was... I didn't even really notice it until I started coming... my adrenaline started coming down later. And another thing I noticed, too, is I was wet. I didn't realize until like 20, 30 minutes later. It was the craziest, scariest thing anybody can go through, in my estimation, anyway. And
your body goes into when your body goes into shock like that, you don't realize it until when your adrenaline's dumping like that, and just a lot of things hit you. So
yeah, and I was like in a zombie state for a few days afterwards. I didn't even really know what I was just going through the motions, and I didn't even call into work the next day. I just did my thing, and I couldn't even tell you what I did.
right.
You know, it was crazy.
Northwoods Cryptid said, if you can say, what road was it on?
Well, it was on. I'd have to look at. I could tell you. I used to know it.
No worries.
I used to know. I could tell you. I had to look at the map or something again, but I kind of forgot now. But I can find that out for you. You know, I just got to look at it again. I know it. I just can't think of it right now.
No worries.
Okay. Yeah, I can point it out on Google Earth. I know where it was. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of like, I mean, I don't know where else to go with it other than that, because I just went home and I reported the damage to my company that was on the truck. They didn't. Of course, I didn't tell them what happened there, but that wasn't going to be in a report. I just said a limb or a branch, fell down and, just come down on the side right there on the cab and did that. And they didn't question it. And they took it in the next day. I come in a little later than the other drivers. And when I come in to work, I was going to I checked it out when I got home and and everything, but I wanted to check it out a little bit better. And I come in work a little bit later in the morning than a lot of the other guys. So by the time I get there, they had one of the other drivers take my truck and get it repaired. So I didn't even see it, and they just give me a different truck, for the, we're in day cabs, so it don't matter that much, and not sleeper cabs. So we just switched around trucks when that kind of thing happened, and so, I mean, I really didn't even get a really good look at it the next day because I just wanted to get that report in so I wouldn't get charged for the damage,
Right, exactly.
And so, yeah, I guess that's about all. I mean, unless you want me to elaborate on some details I didn't talk about or think about. That's about all of it that I can think of at this point, other than maybe some details that I might have left out.
Well, a lot of people, when they have an encounter like this, they usually use the words demonic or hellish. Do you think this thing, did it seem evil to you?
No, it seemed malicious to me. It seemed malicious.
Do you think it was actively hunting you, or was it curious?
Yeah, I've talked to several people to my story privately before I come out public with it, and they tell me they think I was being hunted, and that there was probably, it looked like there was at least 3 of them around, and I only saw the one, because the other 2, obviously, they're telling me they saw, this BS story. They saw a couple bears fighting. Well, there were a couple other dogmen come in there and drag that one off that was dead. Is what happened.
Tony Willis says, question, did you get a good view of the legs and feet?
Yeah, in my mirror when it fell and was sliding through the weeds and tearing down the weeds and the dust was kicking up, and it was, because he was in the weeds and in the dirt when he was running. Kind of dirt there and then weeds and it was dry, it was dusty, and he's kicking up the dirt and dust and weeds, knocking down weeds that he's sliding. His feet were like dinner plate size, and his legs were like, you would think a dog legs would look. He looked human. His body, his arms are like, his biceps were like, and his arms were like bowling balls. He looked, his shoulders were human like. He had a, at the top of his head, he had pointed ears. There was little tufts of hair at the top. There was, his eyes were somewhat, with all the wind and it breezing and everything going past the truck and running, his eyes were squinting a little bit and stuff like that. But they were yellow, and I would say his eyes were like maybe bigger than ping pong ball. Well, golf ball bigger than that, but something like golf ball size. I mean, big eyes. The eyeball. I mean, you can tell when you look at the eye. All I seen was yellow and black.
Right.
But you could tell the eyeball was pretty damn big.
Yeah.
He looked like he had a lion's mane from the back of his neck all the way down past his shoulders, and then his hair went short again, like a short-haired dog. But he was all black, solid black everywhere. His skin on his hands, he didn't have any hair on his fingers. It just stopped at the back of his knuckles. He had pads on the bottom of his hands, his palms, pads nails were black, claws were black. I mean, and of course I didn't see as close his feet, but I saw his hands pretty close.
Yeah.
But they were big. They were big too. They looked like paws. They didn't look like hands, but they looked like big dog paws. I've had a big dog in the past, and he was a mix, but he was a couple 100 pounds, and his paw was almost as big as my hand, but he was a couple 100 pounds. He was like 220, and his paws were almost as big as my hand, and I'm a big guy. I'm like 6'2", 250, and but this thing would probably be 4 of my hands, or 3 at least, 3 probably, maybe 3, but they were big.
Josh Dalton wanted to know, did your rig have a dash cam?
Yeah.
You did? Did you catch anything on dash cam, or did you look?
Well, the company could, and I didn't never look. The company could pull up anything they want. I don't think anything ever got in front of my truck to even see it. I didn't have dash cams going down the sides, or it would have been on there. Front? Yeah, just facing front. You know how they have the cameras facing down the sides too? Some companies have that. If I would have had that, I would have caught it. I didn't have that on that truck, and I never did have that on any truck anyway, but I just had the forward-facing camera, and it never got up that far enough for it to come into the view of the camera that I ever saw anyway.
I have a feeling if you'd have been out working on that trailer any longer than you were, you might not be here telling this story.
That's what everybody I talk to that knows more than me says, that the only reason I did is I was feeling a little bit like I got an uneasy feeling, even somewhat a little bit queasy, and when that's odd for me. That's not right, And I heard some sounds that weren't like you would typically hear in the woods. They weren't normal. I can't describe them because they weren't anything natural sounding anyway. I should say nothing that would be natural. And I was like, something's wrong, and I wasn't feeling right. I that's why I made it quick and got back in the truck and got out of there. And I think you're right, because other people have said that as well. I believe I would have been, dinner, or at least ripped up just for the jollies or whatever. I don't know, but this thing was like had it in for me. It seemed like, I don't know why, but
always trust your gut, brother. That's for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, that's probably why I'm here today. That's what people say. You're lucky you had your gun and you used it, because you could have been one of those, like you hear once in a while, a truck abandoned and the driver is like missing and never found, and it happens sometimes,
Yeah. That I can tell this affected you profoundly. I mean, when you and I talked in Paris, Tennessee, I mean, I could see goosebumps on your arms, and you were like visibly shook telling me the story. And that, to me, that's just if it's affecting you, 5 years later like that, I can imagine how the first few days were.
Oh, I can't even describe how awful it was. It affected my marriage. It too, because at the time we were already kind of growing apart. With my wife, it wasn't like everything wasn't really going the greatest anyway. And then this happened, and I'm having PST nightmares. She don't know what's wrong with me, and I don't want to tell her. I eventually, after about a year of me going through my agony with this on my own, she finally brought it out of me, and I told her, and I thought, well, if you don't believe me, then I guess whatever. So because we're already past all that anyway. So she did believe me though, and because she knows me, she knows how I am, and I don't make anything up. It would have to be something, and I don't, and I'm not crazy, and I know I don't hallucinate. I've always been stable. I'm not any of that stuff, and so she did believe me, but it was real troubling for her to even now that she believed me, and she's like, now that's another thing. She's got to come to that realization that these things exist now, and that bugged her, and that didn't help. And I wasn't going to bed with her because I was waking her up, and I was having nightmares, and so anyway, it ended up in divorce, and wasn't nasty or nothing. It's just we just thought it'd be the thing at this point, and so that's what we did. And so anyway, it affected my life pretty negative in a lot of ways until I got over it. I mean, it's been 5 years, and I'm actually was scared to death to be in the woods or anything for a while. I'm back. I'm doing it again. Mm-hmm. Just recently, I started doing it again, and this year, and I feel pretty good about it. I feel like I'm healed up pretty good from the psychological trauma of it now, and I think I can get back to my old self totally. Well, I won't be totally there because I'll never get over it. But I'm just saying, that's I think pretty well where I can function like I used to, at least. With the knowledge now, at least that these things can be a problem. It's probably rare, but I am aware at least now.
And the thing is once they're out there, there's really no going back.
No,
all those little weird feelings you got when you were a kid, at night playing in the woods, suddenly those aren't far-fetched anymore, because there are things out there that are really there.
No, I mean, I made it through. I would have been maybe 50, 53 at the time. I made it all those years and never knew about anything other than Bigfoot. And so I was like, how did I not know about this? I really couldn't understand when I did do research and found out what I was dealing with. And I've been into it ever since, and I probably always will be, because I want to learn as much as possible about this stuff now. I kind of got through into this, and I got obsessed with it, and I wanted to know it. Now I'm like, I want to know whatever else could be. I'm hearing there's all kinds of other crazy stuff going on too now, and looking at cryptid stuff all over the place, that's different than this. So I guess that's the world I'm in, and I'll continue to be, it looks like, because I can't stop.
I'm right there with you. I totally understand. Smedley Do-Right says, I wanted to know, was the Dogman wearing anything?
I doubt it. If they were, people say if they were, some people say that sometimes they're chipped, or they might be, stuff like that, but and maybe wear stuff, but no, I didn't see anything at all. That he didn't have any. He was just totally, for what I could see, at least what I noticed. I didn't notice anything on it or wearing anything.
Do you think it's possible that the one that was at your window was trying to distract you?
Yeah, that's what I'm looking back on it and talking to people that know dogman behavior and how they hunt. Yeah, he was a distraction, and
There was probably one coming up on your driver's side as well.
that's what. I was told by a lot of other people that after I shot, though, then the whole plan changed, I guess. And he would have had to been running on the opposite oncoming lane to do that, but there wasn't any traffic at that point. So, I mean, I'm sure if there was a car coming, I don't know what they would have done, but the traffic was so light that I don't think I saw a car at all, or maybe one or two during the whole ordeal,
Sometimes that happens in national forests. I've driven through the Mark Twain National Forest here in Missouri and, gone an hour without seeing another car.
Yeah. Depends on the road, but yeah, and the time of day. I was like, if that was the case, well, he would have been in the oncoming lane running up, and what he would have done if there would have been another vehicle coming, I don't know, but that it's all a conjecture, I guess, what could have happened.
Yeah, it could have been ended very, very differently.
Yeah.
I really think you, just based on personal knowledge, I think that one that was on your passenger side was a distraction. I definitely think you were being hunted.
Yeah. You just kind of validated what all other people that know about these things have told me too. I mean, I'm still learning, because I'm learning stuff every day about, especially lately, because I'm talking to people directly that know, in depth about this subject, that are giving me advice and pointers and things that I never thought of. I never crossed my mind. And so I'm thankful for that too, because it gives me more knowledge and awareness of what is really happening,
Exactly.
Yeah. But yeah, it's the craziest thing. But I mean, what was the oddest thing to me about this too is, you wonder how something like that big and that, well groomed and primped, like he was primped, and like he was taken care of, I mean,
how was his teeth? His teeth on him, were they regular canine teeth, or were they?
Yeah, they looked like paws, from what I could see, maybe a little longer. They looked a little elongated than a normal dog, from what I could tell looking at, in my mirror. I didn't, everything was in motion, too.
Right.
But to me, his feet looked a little long, like they were elongated, because obviously this thing runs on its hind legs. It's got to maybe be like that or something. But it wasn't exactly like a dog paw, but it was pretty close, except for maybe a little bit more long,
Right.
Yeah.
And the teeth, how were the teeth on it? Did you see the teeth?
Yeah, I saw the teeth. Like, they were white, solid white. All of them were white. No yellowing, no tartar, no, he just had he's come out of like the dental hygienist or office or something.
You said the teeth were about, what you can estimate was about 3 inches long, roughly?
You're right. Yeah, both bottom and top canines were at least 3 inches long, and at least.
So there's a standard 2 3/4 inch 12 gauge shell for comparison.
Holy moly!
So think 3-inch Magnum.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say they were about as thick as my thumb.
Holy
Nice.
crap!
Yeah, I mean,
question
that
for
would
you,
do
Joe.
some damage.
Have you ever? Hey, one, or actually two questions. One, have you ever been back up in that area? And two, have you heard from other people up in that area who have had maybe not an encounter as close as yours, but other encounters up there.
Yeah, I have heard of other encounters up there after I started doing research, and actually, that's kind of a hot spot. I've heard
Yeah.
in Michigan. Come to find out, it's kind of almost like Dogman Central, almost. I guess that was after doing research. Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's probably you get at least 2 or 3 a year out of that area, at least. I mean, I have people that live through it. I don't know what's going on, but you can't hear from.
I'd be curious to find out how many people go missing in that forest every year.
Yeah.
And Joe, what kind of damage did it do to your truck, man? I remember you saying it damaged the window and the passenger side door, but what more specific?
You know how the rubber is on the top, where you know that it ripped that. It ripped that off, kind of off a little bit, where it pulled his claw back when it was, coming back with his claw, and then I think it might have been trying to reach for my door handle, because I had 2 really deep scratches right by the handle. My doors are locked though. It might have been trying to get that. They weren't real deep, but they were deep enough to see. They weren't from claws, 2 claws, and then I had 3 down the side from the top of the window down to the door handle. And so I think he was testing the window, and I think he could have grabbed me. His arm was long enough to grab me from where he was. He was like maybe 6 feet away, but his arms are long.
Man.
But, and he could have, I think, but I guess he decided to try, but I didn't give him a chance either. I wasn't I think I just beat him to it, before. He could have ripped the door. He could have ripped the door off even if he wanted to. That wouldn't even have been a problem. But I think
on a running boards, will you? That'd been bad news right there, son.
I know. I would. I thought about that afterwards, and I'm like, oh my God, they could have ripped my airlines off, and then I would have had no choice but to stop, right? Yeah. I mean, my trailer would have stopped me.
Yeah.
And I would have been so screwed. I mean, I know. I thought about that a million times.
Could have just ripped your door off.
Yeah, I mean, it'd literally been dead in the water.
Yeah,
man.
Yeah, and I was in a day cab too. He could have went through the back window and pulled me through that back window like a sausage. Or so. I mean, I was thinking all kinds of crazy, dreaming crazy, stuff, and
You said you're a big fella. Can I ask you a question? I mean, how big? I'm gonna put it in Roy D. Mercer. If any of y'all know who Roy D. Mercer or Roy Dan Mercer is, how big a boy are you?
I'm 6'2", 250.
Okay, you ain't a little feller.
No, I was, even then I was a little more better shape than I am now. I was a little younger, so yeah, I'm pretty fit. I mean,
but I mean, that thing could have dragged you through that window like a freaking pinata, man. I mean, I estimate him to be about 1,000 pounds. Woo.
Yeah, I like a horse, like the size of a horse. But
it's a big animal.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that thing was. I can't even describe. It's like it's hard to imagine. Telling somebody how crazy big this thing was. It was ridiculous.
Now I mean, how long did it take? I'm sorry. How long did it take you to come forward with this to other folks? Because we've talked about this on a lot of shows, and a lot of folks don't. There's a lot of folks out there who've had encounters who have never talked about them for fear of the stigma of being called, oh, you're crazy or you're full of crap, or for fear of losing their job or anything like that. How long did it take you to come forward with this?
Well, I at least a year. It was around a year before I even told anybody whatsoever. And then I started talking, finding out that I told my wife eventually. She believed me, and then she said, well, talk to your sister about it. and I went to her, and she's knows. And come to find out, I had no idea, but she knew about him, and she never had an encounter, but she knew about him, and she said, "You did?" She said, "I always wondered about that. Wasn't sure, if that was a thing, but you're my brother, so now I believe it." I mean, it was like, so I went from there, with family believing me, and then she said, "You need to talk to somebody out there and put it out there." I'm like, I'm not comfortable with doing that, but I did finally talk to someone I trusted enough to after about a year, a little over a year, I talked to Lance Hightower, and he narrated my story about 4 years ago, and that's all. And then I dropped it up until like this month, and to go public, because there was a lot of stuff has changed since then, and so yeah, now. It's been 4 years since I even mentioned it to anybody.
And I know I have the agreement, everybody on the chat panel and here with DA and Anthony, we're glad you got out of there, physically unscathed. The psychological scars, we can't do anything about, unfortunately, other than talking about it's therapeutic and everything, I'm sure. But, we're glad you got through it physically unscathed. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome, man. And do you find that talking about it has helped with PTSD, nightmares, any of those negative feelings from the encounter?
Well, I've been okay in that regard for at least 3 years now, I would say. Maybe I have been really good. And if I haven't talked about it, and I didn't realize how much better in the last maybe 2 or 3 weeks since I started coming out in public with it, how much of a burden that I feel is off of me for some reason. It is therapeutic to, it's scary and I have to live through it again. But the more I explain, I think it's helping other people see what information is there that can be gleaned to, maybe benefit, in people in general, somewhere in there, and it's helping me. So it's a mutual thing. I think I'm hoping at least that.
Good. No, that's good. Thank the Lord for that. That's good.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's the way I'm looking at it, and I feel that's the way it is. I think it's important. There's information there that I think is very important for a lot of people to know that I don't think is out there.
Well, yeah, and you live to tell your story, and your story might help other people, might save other people's lives. So there was a reason for it. You know what I mean? I mean, out of something bad can come something good, and I think you're seeing that, and you're going to reap the whirlwind of that now. That's good.
Yeah, I had to get myself, I think, my head in a better place. I wasn't in real good shape to even put myself back there to talk about it, because it was flipping me out, so at first. But
I'm sure that's a lot to unload all at one time. That's a lot in your headspace, and if you're not in a good headspace to start out with, that can definitely have some negative effect on you for sure, man.
Oh yeah, and it did. But I'm so thankful at this point that I'm so much better. It's a world of difference now. I'm like 90. I think I'm like 90% better at least.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad talking about it has really helped you. I know years ago, and this isn't cryptid related. This was line of duty. I got hurt pretty bad, and I had to sit and talk with a therapist about it before I could quit shaking enough to go back on duty. I mean, it shook me. And it's anytime you have something that's a critical incident or a life-changing incident like this, the trauma will stick with you for a long time. And until you do talk about it, you're never really going to let go of the worst parts of it. I mean, it'll never ever go away, but at least you can manage it by dealing with it.
Yeah, and that's where I decided to I'm the kind of guy, when I put my mind to something, I make it happen, So I've always been like that. I'm not going to let it. Yeah, it might have knocked me down quite a few notches, but I'm not going to let go the rest of my life like that. It's just not going to happen. I'm going to pull myself out of it and get to where my head is supposed to be.
That's the difference between being a survivor and being a victim, brother.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Deborah Hoffman said to let you know that we're all praying for you.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. That prayers are always, if they're well intentioned prayers, they work. And
Absolutely.
I know that. Yeah.
Cowboys Five Rings has an interesting comment. He said they say the Michigan Dogman appears in a 10-year cycle in years ending in 7. I wonder if that's with Dogmen everywhere.
I don't know. It was 2017, so there might be something to that. I have heard that before.
I hadn't either.
Go back there on the 10th year and we'll find out.
I don't think so. I'm not going to.
Take me, Doc, and DA with you. Don't worry about it. We got you. Man. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, Jerry's like, I'm good.
I've been there, done that. I think if I did have an encounter, I think about that a lot. If I did again, I would be able to handle it a hell of a lot better, though.
Oh, I know. Figure you laugh about it now. You got to laugh about something.
Yeah, I know, and I do. I make light of it too. There's times I do make light of it, so that just means I'm in a lot better place,
Yeah, man, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if we hear of anybody in 2027 talking about they saw a dog man in that area wearing an eye patch, looking like Snake Plissken, then we know what's up.
That is a good one. Yeah, you're right. We know what that was about, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely, brother.
Oh, yeah.
I know you said this before, but I'm not recalling the detail. How fast do you think it was going? It was keeping up with you?
At least 25 to 30. That's I couldn't go any faster until I got to the top of the hill.
Yeah,
I was fully loaded, too.
With that much weight on, you're not going to accelerate up a hill very fast.
No, I was at a dead stop at the bottom of it. So, yeah, it was 25 to 30 tops.
And I'll put this in reference for that, because when Ranger, I got a 110-pound German Shepherd. When he was a pup, when he was about 4 years old, he could keep up with my side-by-side at 25 miles an hour in just a lope. He was just jogging. So I can't even imagine something 10, 12 feet tall.
Well, he just looked like he was fast walking. I mean, so gracefully too.
Yeah, he's at a brisk walk at that
Yeah.
size. Holy crap.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's really hard to describe it. Really, it's so hard to describe, in words. I mean, it really is. And I mean, I would have to sketch it or something, and I'm not real great at that. But I have a friend that's going to sketch it here.
Well, do you have? Can you see what we're seeing on YouTube right now?
Can you see the audio, the video?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Did it look anything like this?
That's not far off. I mean, it wasn't exact, but that's not real far off. It really isn't.
Why don't you put up the variables, the DA, of the type 2, type 3?
Give me just a second. I got to find that again. There it is.
Yeah. And Pete Dahlia had a good question too. I'm gonna pull that up while we're looking at this. Who do you think's grooming it? A girlfriend? Because you said it looked well groomed. I mean, do they have mates? I don't know.
Well, that's the $68,000 question. That I'm alluding to. It's like, how is that even possible?
Right. Something was grooming it.
Right.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
Something or someone.
Yeah, and out of these pictures here, which one would you think would come the closest to it, Joe?
Let me look here. Well, I would say it would be the Canine Variant 1. No, I didn't see. It's kind of small on my screen. I can see it better now. Okay, Canine Variant 3 is really close.
There you go.
Really close, except for put a big mane on him.
Right.
And make his head blockier and his snout maybe a little wider, but that's pretty. But other than that, it's about pretty as close as I think you can get. His body was human-like until you get to the knees, and then he was, dog-like. The head and between the head, the neck, and the knees, he had a humanish-looking body.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
But he was very muscular, wasn't it, or no?
Oh yeah, his biceps were like bowling balls. I could see that. I could see that close.
Hmm.
Well, 5674 says, well, it ain't groomed anymore.
He's got a permanent part.
He had a real bad hair day that day.
I knew he couldn't let up on that. It looks like his ex. There we go.
Yep, I was expecting that.
Yeah, I messed up his good hair day. I'll tell you that I did.
Yeah, as we would say that people know what we're talking about. You parted the canoe. That's what you did.
You're right.
You knew that. So
you're right.
If you shot it in the eye the way you said you did, yeah, that's soft tissue it's going into. So.
Yeah, and the way that bullet is designed, that's a devastating bullet. I think that bullet had a lot to do with it as well, because that is like an insanely lethal bullet when it goes into soft tissue.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a normal bullet. It's not normal. It's crazy. You have to see what it looks like when it hits something. It looks like a broadhead from an arrow.
I know what it is. DH showed the pictures, but I know exactly what it does when you do shoot one of those. It flowers open so massively, it's not even funny.
Oh, it flowers open 3 inches wide.
Right.
Man.
Yeah, that's a lot of trauma. That's a lot of damage.
Yeah. I see the picture. That's it right there.
Yeah.
Those are actually my bullets.
Yeah, Jenny sent me the pictures.
Oh, okay. That's why. Okay. That's the gun right there.
Yeah. Yeah, that ain't
and of course, that gun I'm never going to sell, ever.
I don't blame you. I wouldn't either.
No.
In fact, now I want one.
I did a little bit of a custom paint job on that. That's why it looks that way. Because it's
Tony Harris asked caliber. It was 45 long Colt, correct?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yep, that would do it. That would definitely do it. Hey, and Naomi's in. Hey. She's here.
Hey, Naoma.
She asked if she missed the story. Yeah, just a tad. Just a little bit. Getting the comments here for you, Joe. Let's see if any comments. Oh, that's my Mr. DA, Mr. here. Doc. Yeah, if anybody has any comments, please ask. Anyone.
Sorry, I was catching up on comments.
Me too.
John Doe says all weapons of note need a name.
Yeah.
No
joke.
Yeah. I haven't named it yet. I just call it my Dogman gun. That's what I call it.
I'd call it Wolf's Bane.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It's not bad. I might name it out. It might have to even paint it on there somewhere.
That'd be kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, it's a special gun.
Have you had any more encounters or anything close to it? Okay.
No, I've never been through anything paranormal in my whole life until that, and I haven't since at all. Nothing at all. And I'm not even never been into anything paranormal either up until this happened. Then I started getting into the cryptids, and I think that's the space I'm going to be in the rest of my life, because now I can't stop learning and finding out about it.
Now, you said the people that you ran into that were down there at the spot where it happened. I know it seems really, really coincidental that they would show up that quickly.
Yeah, well, I'm speculating a lot of things without saying it. That's all.
I got you. I kind of wonder if they didn't know in advance, that kind of thing. Maybe they were tracking it.
Yeah. That's might be. It could be. That's a possibility. That's what I'm thinking is very possible. Yes.
Yeah, I'm a big proponent of not going into the woods unarmed just because of things like that. And had you been on foot, that probably firearm probably wouldn't have been enough. You might have got one of them, but I don't think you could have got the whole pack fast enough.
No, I would have probably been reals. I mean, it would have probably been a stretch to even get one with that gun.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't even have it on me when I was outside the truck. Like I said, it was strapped to my seat, so I didn't even have it on me outside the truck. I would have been real screwed anyway, because I didn't even have it on me.
It just would have been one of those cases where they found an abandoned truck at the side of the road and no one knew what happened.
Yep, that's exactly what a lot of people have told me. I just beat them at every step of the way. They were doing their, slinking around and whatever, their plan was, but they were setting it all up. But I was beating them. I was ahead of them every time they were trying something. Is what it sounded like. Yeah.
And that's only the number of times I've driven through the Mark Twain and seen a vehicle at the side of the road with nobody in it. I often wondered, why would they just abandon a vehicle at the side of the road?
Right.
Well,
I'll be thinking twice every time I see one.
I remember too, one time, I thinking back on things when I was, driving cross country and I was in a sleeper cab. I was in New Mexico, and I saw a car, in the middle of nowhere. And I passed it, and I dropped a load off. It was some warehouse in the middle of nowhere or something for Cabela's. I don't remember exactly, but I dropped it off. It was evening, and I had to stay there till morning to unload. And I unloaded. Came on my way out of there the next morning. I was real early, sun coming up. I was coming back empty, and that car's still there, and the door's still open. And I pull over, and I call the police, and they didn't know. They said they didn't know anything about it, and they'll be out and check it out. I don't know whatever happened, or what that was about. I'm just saying I've seen that too,
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder. This was in New Mexico. I know they're everywhere, so it could be that, or it could be any other cryptid. Maybe, I don't know, but. It makes you wonder, and you got to be real careful. That's why I carry extra heavy these days now too. Than I did.
That's the kind of thing that makes you realize just how fragile you are.
Yeah.
We are not the top of the food chain once we get away from cities and civilization.
No. I always have at least a 12-gauge shotgun with me at the ready too. If I can get to that first, I'm going to choose that. But you know what I'm saying. But if that ever is a thing in the future, but I'm ready. Hopefully, and I don't see it being ever happening again. But I'm ready now, and I can't help it. I just have to do that now.
Right.
No, I don't blame you. I don't blame you a bit,
man. I mean, hope is a pretty poor strategy, and
that is a fact.
Better to be prepared, brother.
It's like everybody says, well, why would you carry a 458 or, a 450 Bushmaster? Well, everybody, this is the reason why. I hate to say it again, and I'm going to keep repeating it. You might think I'm a little bit off, but yeah, that's why. I mean, you want something big caliber, and you're not going out hunting. You want to protect yourself. That's the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, you know what they say: when seconds count, cops are minutes away.
Yeah, it's the truth. Not even that. You got people out in the woods too that you can run across a meth lab, a pot field.
There's all kinds of dangerous crap you can run into that aren't even cryptid related.
Yeah, I ran across marijuana field out in my hunting area that we leased in the back area. I didn't even know.
You'll run across more crackheads than real cryptids, won't you, Anthony?
Yeah, you do, and you get all these whacked out people out in the woods, that live out there, that are hermits, that are survivalists, and it's just you got to be careful what who you run into. It's not just the cryptids out there or a Bigfoot or a dog.
Right. If I leave the house, I've got a firearm, a knife, and a Dark Angel med kit on me.
Right. You know,
always.
That's called the trifecta of preparedness.
Right.
And that's a bare minimum. If I think I'm going somewhere where I'm going to need more, yeah, I'll prepare accordingly. But I've always got a good edged weapon. And folks, someone was mentioning pocket knives. Dark Angel Medical. I'm not sorry, not Dark Angel Medical. I've got Dark Angel on the brain. Scallywag Tactical makes a series. Makes a series of knives. I carry this one pretty much. It's my daily carry. I have never had a pocket knife hold an edge better than this. I use this knife constantly.
I got mine too.
Yeah, you can get these over at Dark Angel. There we go again. You can get these over at Scallywag for like around $30, and they are a high quality knife. I can't tell you the number of cheap $7 pocket knives I bought at Walmart and broke the tip or lost it. But this knife, will, you treat that knife right, and it'll be with you for life.
Yeah, this thing is just sick sharp.
And they make several versions of that. Here's another one. It's called the Orca.
Mm-hmm. I can't even begin to tell you how many things I've cut with this already. And this thing still is a razor. I mean, it cut my hand the other day. I just nicked it. And it was like, Jesus,
And go over to Bud K and pick up one of these little knife sharpeners.
Mm-hmm.
I think I paid $4 for this thing, and it'll put a razor edge on a knife in seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I've never had a sharp. I've had Benchmades. I've had all expensive knives. You know what, though? This thing, by far, when he sent this to me, I mean, this thing still has an edge on it like crazy. It's nuts. And it's stout. I mean, you're holding a knife. It's not light. That's the good thing about it. You got it in your hand.
Yeah, you should always have a good knife on hand.
Unless
in Joe's case, have a good firearm as well.
DA's got some bigger scallywag stuff there too. I mean, the stuff. Where is that one other one you got from them? It's in his book.
And this one is called the Gunner's Mate.
There you go. I want that. That's the one I want.
1/4-inch thick blade.
Dirty.
Yeah.
Dirty. Hey, DA. See here. Was it? Who was it? Yeah, Johnny Half said you got a link, DA, to Scallywag.
Yes.
Shoot him a link.
I will grab the link to the blades right now and share it. And Scallywag Tactical is veteran owned, just like Dark Angel. Just a fantastic group of guys over there. And I will share the link in the chat right now. Straight over to Scallywag blade selection. They have got some amazing blades. Some of them are a little pricey, but you can get the pocket knives fairly cheap. But if you want to spend a little bit of money on a good quality knife, I guarantee you that Gunner's Mate will still be sharp when I hand it down to my kids.
Right. Compared to what? Yeah.
This is a Benchmade.
Right.
That I got for a Christmas gift a couple years back. Can't remember the model number of it, but that's a nice little blade.
That's a nice blade too, man.
Yeah, it's nice and thick.
Here's another one. Here's another one from Scallywag. It's called the Dew Claw.
I like that.
I'm down when it comes to knives. I'm down with the thickness.
Yeah, there's the Scallywag emblem on the blade, and she's another thick one.
Yeah, I make my own. You guys know that. I got,
Oh, that's nice, dude.
I made that. So.
Hey, check out the blades over at Scallywag and tell them we sent you.
Yeah, Craig is a good dude.
Yes, he is.
I carry an M9 bayonet with me because I can throw it on the end of my AR if I want to.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one of them too.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got them. I got one. Yep. That's it right there.
Hey, Doc, check this one out.
Oh, that's nice.
That's pretty.
That's another Scallywag blade.
When did you get that one in?
Scallywag. I've had it for a bit. I've been meaning to show it for a while.
Oh, Pink Dolly, I want you to drop my link, DA.
Absolutely.
Please, sir.
And the thing about about Dark Angel Medical is not only is it one of the best, in my opinion, best med kits on the market. It comes with what they call the Kit for Life guarantee. If you use the kit to save a life, document it, send the contents back to Dark Angel, and they will replace all of the contents you used of the kit for free for life.
That's correct.
And if you go to darkangelmedical.com and use code cryptid25, you get 25% off your entire order.
Right there, people. There it is. You got your tourniquet and everything inside.
Just life-saving goodness in a little bundle.
Yeah, everything right there. Pop it open, close it up, it folds out.
I love Susan Parsons of Boys and Her Toys, and Naoma, of course. She wrote,
Naoma say,
I never knew a man who didn't need something. Oh, Lord, we miss you, Naoma.
We love you too.
Oh, mercy. Thank you, Pink Dahlia. Appreciate you.
Let me take that down real quick. But yeah, back to the Dogman information. Joe, I know you felt like that thing was definitely hunting you. But how many do you think there were? Do you think was a pack? Do you think it was 2 or 3?
There was at least 3 from what I surmised from the information I have. It looks like there was 3 at least. Yeah, that's only. I didn't see 3. I only saw 1, but it sounds like 3.
Yeah, to carry off one that big probably would have taken a couple to drag it. That would be a big animal.
Oh yeah, that thing was, like I said, it was about the size of a horse. An average horse is going to be around 1,000 pounds, and it looked like it would have been that type of a mass. You know, if you compare the weight of a horse about that size, that's kind of how I'm going. You know, on that.
And I'm kind of thinking like this, like DA had said, there might have been one flanking you from your driver's side to take, and one on your passenger side was a distractor, and there might have been one out in the woods, kind of acting like the spotter.
Oh yeah. Well, I've also learned that they communicate too. You know, so the whole time they're doing this, there's communication going on between them. So
we've discovered there's communication between wolves and a wolf pack. I mean, it's not unfathomable that they either have their own language or use sign language. They're obviously intelligent. But we're finding that animals possess far more intelligence than we ever gave them credit. So I think it's completely believable that these things not only were planning an ambush, but are able to communicate and coordinate the attack.
Yeah, I believe that too. Especially, you know, the more I've learned about Dogman tactics that have been observed, you know, in other accounts of this too. So yeah, I believe that.
So when you after you shot it, you went up the hill to the little rest area and turned around and came back. And you said that had to have been less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, right.
For there to have been someone else already on scene, they had to have been nearby. They had to have been nearby or watching you when it happened.
Yeah, as I know, they had to be. I mean, to be that close to the incident and to be there already by the time I got back down there, yeah, they would have had to been on top of me almost, I would think.
What kind of license plates were on the Jeep, on the front or back? Did you notice anything?
The Jeep was black, and there was the only contrast that I saw was on the plates. I tried to notice everything I could. It looked like they were white plates. They weren't Michigan plates. I knew they weren't Michigan plates.
They're white. That sounds like government plates.
Yeah. White plates are government plates, man.
Okay. Well, I didn't really. I know they weren't Michigan for sure.
Well, if you look at like Army Recruiter or Marine Recruiter, if you look at their plates, they're white and say U.S. government on them.
Right. That's all they say.
Oh, yeah. I guess you're right about that. I didn't know they were all white, though.
Big Dolly says they had a shotgun at the ready in the back seat.
Yep.
The more I hear about that, and again, this is just pure speculation, but it makes me think that either one, they were also hunting these things, or they were observing them.
Now, were they out of the Jeep? Or were they in the Jeep?
They were out. One was, I mean, within arm's reach of that gun, and the other one was kind of talking to me, kind of like near the front of the Jeep.
Did you notice any tactical gear, gun belt, gun, anything like that? Nothing.
No, not other than that shotgun. You know, that's why, you know, they didn't look anything out of the ordinary really that much.
Okay.
Really, they looked pretty normal for the most part, you know. I guess if they had government tags on it, which I didn't read government on there, but I know they weren't Michigan. They seemed to me, they were white tags.
Right. I mean, DA and Doc know, and other people, and if you run across somebody that's a government contractor, especially like a Blackwater, those guys dress a certain way that you could just pick up on.
Yeah, and Anthony, to talk about that too. I mean, if they were there right behind him, there had to have been some way they could have tracked it, seen it. Of course. And so, I mean, 5 years ago, drones, I mean, there were still small man portable drones with thermal with thermal capabilities, you know.
Well, they got drones the size of birds now.
Yeah.
That they're using out in the military. I mean, you can't even spot them.
Yeah.
You know.
So that's
and
it.
What are they working on now? A drone that looks like a bee?
Yeah.
The size of a bee now? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. You'll never spot that.
So that capability was definitely there. And so it's kind of ironic, comically ironic that they were there, you know, right there. Oh yeah, we thought we heard some bears. I mean, yeah, there are bears up in northern Michigan, but
hey Joe, what were you hauling in the truck?
Paper rolls from a paper mill up there. It was out of Filer City up there, and what they do is they make paper products like maybe cereal boxes and stuff. I mean, they're like 2 tons a piece. These rolls of paper they're huge, you know.
I was just wondering if it was meat or produce or something you were carrying that would have set this thing off.
I didn't even have any food in my truck that I would be carrying for me at the time. I didn't even have snacks or anything in there, really. I didn't have, so I couldn't have been drawn in by any kind of food.
Well, he's got a high lead snack right now, I can tell you, with a little copper mixed in with it. So he knows what it tastes like now.
So, Joe, was it a short haul and you had just picked up? How long?
I had just picked up. I was probably 15 minutes in on my run, probably 15, 20 minutes, something like that after I picked up. And that's when I started noticing my air was dropping, you know, on my gauge. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I better check this out, because I was taking it to Kalamazoo for the night, because I lived in Kalamazoo area. And then I was home every night. I would, you know, go home, and then next day, you know, go back to the terminal, take my load to Chicago at a rail yard, and drop off at a rail yard, bring the load back to Michigan. It was like my routine, you know, Michigan, Chicago, you know.
I wonder if those boys up there at that paper plant have ever had any encounters.
You know, I don't know. I wouldn't doubt it, because it's on the edge of town, so I don't know the topography around there. If there's, like, you know, they say they travel around the waterways and things. I mean, there's a river there. There is a river there for sure, because most paper mills are next to a river. So,
I was just wondering if you had, like, you know, I heard one story. This one guy was carrying meat in a freezer trailer, and it, you know, attacked the trailer to get to the meat. That's why I was asking you if you were hauling any, you know, produce and stuff like that. But
well, there was one time I was carrying a refrigerated container north there, and I was parked for the night. It's kind of off the beaten path, but in a rest area, and it was like it was springtime, but there'd be like frost on the ground and stuff.
Right.
A little frost. It was spring, but still cold. I woke up in the morning to go and to relieve myself, and everything. And I noticed all these bear tracks around my trailer. It was refrigerated. I had, a lot of food in there. It was a refrigerated trailer, So yeah, I can see where food. I didn't have any trouble or anything. I just saw that smell drawed them in, and somehow they can smell through a sealed container, I guess.
Oh yeah, man. Look what they do to the cabins with refrigerators.
Yeah.
They'll rip that thing apart just to get, and they're not getting just to the food. They're getting to the insulation that smells like formaldehyde. It smells like an ant colony.
Oh, is that why?
Yeah, that's exactly why. So when they rip it open, they get a bonus. They're like, oh, look, there's food in there. So, they do have a good sense of smell.
Yeah.
Every refrigerated meat truck, I used to drive forklift years ago, and every refrigerated meat truck I ever unloaded always had like residue from the pallets like on the edges of the truck. So they probably could have easily smelled blood residue or meat residue just on the back skids.
You'd be surprised what a grizzly could smell blood, but up to
miles and miles. No, it's more than that. It's several miles.
Yeah,
that sounds delicious. That sounds yummy.
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna scrape that up with a Ritz cracker.
Oh. Stop it, Doc. You're making me hungry.
Appreciate that, Doc.
It's almost like potted meat on a cracker.
Yeah. Yeah. Everybody's commenting on Blackwater. Sorry I even said that.
I don't know what it was, but it makes you wonder.
Right. I understand that. That's why I asked you if you had food in there, because I've heard stories where they're attracted to, not just Dogman, Bigfoot too, attracted to the food, and the smell.
Yeah.
So,
no, it couldn't have been that. It had to have been something else. What it was, I don't know. Obviously they wanted something that was fresher or something.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah.
6'2", 250 pounds. Yeah, you're a good meal for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank God you did have your gun with you and everything like that. But the whole Jeep thing and the people showing up like five, that's a little bit,
Yeah.
Worrisome.
Yeah, and then they said they heard bears fighting. Meanwhile, he's there. He didn't hear anything like that, in the same spot, and they're telling him those were bears fighting. Yeah, I can tell you what it was, my opinion. It was that thing crying out in pain that he just got half his head blown off. That's exactly probably what it was, rolling around in the grass. It's just weird that, certain stories you'll hear that, people show up out of nowhere, just pop up.
Yeah, it's pretty odd. It was the last thing I would have thought. I thought I was going to have to run the thing over.
And you're in the middle of nowhere, so what were they doing out there?
Yeah, the nearest town was probably 10 miles away.
Right. So they're not sightseeing in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
So it's like, come on.
Tombstone says, DA, it's food truck vendors' worst nightmare, smelling the food. There's a reason we referred to those as roach coaches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want me to get into detail, I can, but I won't. Yeah.
Yeah, we called them gut trucks too.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the military.
Yep, I've eaten off plenty of those roach coaches, trust me. Some of them are good, some of them are bad. Don't get me wrong.
I never had one I would exactly describe as good.
I had one.
I've had ones I describe as edible, but
edible. Let's put it like that. Yeah.
That's borderline.
A cut above MRE. Yeah.
Yeah.
I stopped at one in Laredo, Texas once. That was awesome. One time.
Well, like food trucks you find in town are fine. I'm referring to the roach coaches that used to come out to the bivouac site in the military.
Yeah.
The construction site where the guy, he's got that little change belt on him. He's clicking change out, and he's got trays of whatever's in there. You don't know
mystery
what it is.
meat sandwiches. Can I get one of those kangaroo sandwiches, please?
Hey man, you got some mold on that carrot. I'll just wipe it off. Don't worry about it. It's still good.
Just pinch that piece off. It'll be fine.
Yeah, it's all right.
When we were in the Middle East, they were like, Doc, that shawarma is. I got some stuff off of a street vendor, and they're like, Doc, that shawarma is probably camel. I was like, whatever. I got all the strep rub and flagell for y'all, so I'll just take some of that. It tastes pretty good with the strep sauce on it.
I think the best one is that movie. It's that movie scene with Robert De Niro, and I'm trying to think who else, and they're in Mexico, and he's eating off the side of Mexico somewhere, and he's like, "Is that good?" And he's like, "Yeah, this is the best chicken I ever had." He goes, "Yeah, that's tree chicken." He goes, "What's that?" He goes, "You're eating iguana." And the guy's like, "What?" And he's eating it off a kebab, and he's like, and Robert De Niro's still eating it. He's going to town on it,
Right.
Like a Demolition Man. You see cows around here? What do you think that burger's made out of? You think this is rat?
Yeah.
Pretty good.
Yeah.
Protein is protein, baby.
He almost says, let's be honest, Manny's Roadkill Cafe is a cut above MREs. We used to call them meals ready to excrete.
Yeah, well, that's Constipation City right there, man.
I was in during the Mombasa area. We called it meals refused by Ethiopians.
Yeah, when they don't want to eat it, something's up.
Exactly.
You got candy bar? Candy? Chocolate? Yeah.
MRE? Oh, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good question. Willamette Valley Cryptid says, question, could your air have been damaged by it being pulled on?
I was thinking about that too.
Like it might have sabotaged your truck while you were moving slow?
Well, it did look like a slice, and it wasn't like it was a weathered cracking or nothing. I don't know. I mean, now that I hear that, I'm not so sure what either,
Probably good you were quick at fixing it then.
Yeah, I never considered that as being a possibility.
Yeah.
Either. See, that's what I'm talking about. All these things that people are coming up with is like, it never occurred to me, really.
Yeah, because you can tell. My youngest son was a truck driver for a while, and he was like, you could tell if you got bad hoses. You know what I mean? And if you got good hoses,
a dry rot on it.
Yeah, right. I mean, you do an inspection, and there was no dry rot or weathering there, and you know how if you're a truck driver, you always inspect before you get on the road and stuff, and so I didn't see anything like that when I got under there checking the brake chambers and stuff. So I didn't really consider it though.
Right. Steve
Patton says those meat trailers also have drain holes on the floor for drainage, so they could definitely smell the contents.
Yeah.
See, I never knew that.
Well,
interesting.
Yeah, but I carried refrigerated containers, and they don't though.
Right.
The containers don't, but
they're completely sealed.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it sounds. The more we're talking about this, Joe, I mean, it sounds. I'm with DA and Anthony on this. It sounds like a ambush,
I would totally agree with that.
Right. I think we were at the wrong place at the wrong time, and they this thing was out, or they were out with it, or doing something with it, and you just happened to break down right there. Bad luck. And that's what happened. And you just punched its time clock. That's what happened.
I mean, Anthony, we talk about this a lot. Yeah, they're opportunistic, man. They're gonna take an easy meal if they can get it.
Well, it would have been easy thinking about what happened to it, why it was leaking. I can see how that could be a possibility. It would have been easy enough for them to maybe damage it where it was at.
Right.
It was hanging. If you know how they are, they kind of hang a little bit, and and they're on hangers and things back there and stuff. So,
what was the question, Doc? What were you going to ask me? You were saying
I was just talking about how we had talked about it was probably an ambush, and we had talked about how they're opportunistic and they'll hit it. They'll hit what they think is an easy meal. And dude, these things are smart, man. These things are smart, and if they know enough, who knows why they know that? Hey, if I slice this line, it's going to make him have an air leak and make him stop down. So we're talking a lot of second and third order effects in here.
Well, yeah, Joe said it was intelligent. He said he could see by the look, the way it was looking at him.
Right.
Just by the look on its face and its expression, it was intelligent. It wasn't stupid.
I mean, you're talking.
It was figuring it out. It was like figuring out how to get into the truck, how to get to him, how to, it was problem solving everything. Yeah. So
how can I get this dude to us?
Right.
That's a sentient being right there.
Yeah, that's
somebody ordered Uber Eats.
Yeah, that's a little bit. That's a little bit scary there. I mean, this thing's waiting for you. You turn around and this thing's standing there running next to your truck. You're like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, to me that would be a little bit. I mean, even my experience. We were just sitting in there, and I seen it. I could just imagine driving and looking over next to you on the right side, and you're like, what the hell is that? It's just running along with the truck, looking out the window.
And had you paid attention to that and not reacted the way you did, it might have been a totally different situation when something grabbed you from the driver's side with you distracted. Silver Fox tried to have a good question. Said, did you notice a smell?
No smell. No sounds, no smell, just a lot of dirty looks and sneering and darting eyes around trying to figure out. You could tell he was thinking, and he was looking at me, with an intelligent look, so more like a human than an animal. It was very surreal,
Yeah, it was problem solving. That's what it was doing. It was problem solving how to get in there.
Yeah.
Sorry, Joe, we're not laughing at you. We're laughing at comment about
that's okay. I know.
Oh, the Sunday night thing, yeah. Yeah, that's a little bit weird to see something like that problem solved, and it's trying to figure something out.
Right. I mean, that shows a high degree of intelligence right there, man.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, and if he knew what guns are, he couldn't see it from his perspective either until I pulled it. When he pulled it, he knew what it was. I mean, I was looking right at him. He knew what it was, and he just didn't move fast enough. Did
his face register surprise? The eyes?
Yeah. He knew right in that instant he screwed up. I mean, I could see it.
Oh, yeah.
You done messed up, AA Ron.
That's what I was about to say. You done messed up, AA Ron.
Yeah, that would have been. Yeah, when he looked at you and went, "Ooh, yeah,
If you could get it in the eye, even a 9mm would have done significant damage.
Oh, yeah.
With that big 45 long Colt, it's no wonder it dropped like a rock. Dropped that thing like a bad habit.
Yeah, you said it stiffened right out. The leg stiffened out and the arm stiffened out, so you hit it in the head. I mean, it just. That was just a reaction of when you cut the switch. It just boom, they automatically just go.
You hit that CNS switch, and here's the thing too. Even if it was a grazing shot, I'm gonna go on the outside of anatomy here. I'm gonna go outside, play the what if fairy. But even if it hit the skull with that much force or that big Lehigh defense round, and even if it was a grazing shot, it's still going to cut their switch off real good, and they're going to be incapacitated. You get hit in the head with something that big, that's like somebody throwing a bowling ball at you, know?
Mm-hmm.
So, and like you said, if it had been a grazing blow, it would have been an incapacitating blow.
Absolutely.
It still would have been dragged off.
Yeah. It's going to knock it for a loop for sure.
Silver Foxtrot says, the reason I ask is because the one I saw was worse than any hog or bear I ever smelled. But he's mentioned that Joe. You mentioned that it was well groomed.
Yeah, it was very clean looking. It was very, very pristine. like a dog show type looking, pristine look to them.
I've heard a lot of stories of, well, there's a persistent number of stories where people talk about how the government has used them, and the part of me at one time in my life didn't really want to give any credence to that. But the more I hear stuff like this, especially how fast that Jeep showed up, something tells me that the government is more involved with Dogman than we'll probably ever know.
I wouldn't doubt it.
No, we've had stories. We've had somebody on here, and I've heard stories that I've mentioned somebody else, that somebody came forth and they have firsthand experience and account that they are using these things, and they're more government enhanced and genetic wise, and I don't doubt it. I'm sure that they have a program that are doing this, or
I mean, couldn't they be weaponizing these things, Anthony?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that's highly plausible, and these things could have been part of a test group, and they were just
look at that crazy bastard Hitler. Look what he did.
Yeah.
I mean, look at all the experiments on humans he was doing.
Yep.
I mean, that's sick. So you're going to genetically enhance something to use it in warfare instead of putting anybody else in danger, you, me, DA, or our sons, or our grandchildren. Of course, you're going to do it. That's, you rather send that into battle or humans.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, I mean, you'll never get a straight answer. You'll never get the right answer,
Oh, yeah.
It's the same thing with Bigfoot. I believe the government not only has known about them for a long time, I think that they've had an active interest in them. And otherwise, why would they go to such lengths to discredit some people that have credible stories?
Right.
If the government said, just ignored them and let them rant and let them go on, I was like, where's your proof? There's no such thing as Bigfoot. But they will go out of their way to try to destroy the credibility of people with really solid sightings and evidence. And to me, that's cover up. That's an admission it's there.
Sweeping under the rug, man.
Right.
Absolutely. I mean, what better way to keep things hidden than to discredit credible witnesses?
Well, look what they did with the UFO thing. All those Navy pilots came forward. So how do you discredit a Navy pilot now?
Right.
When they have it on their cam.
Right.
And it's on gun cam footage. Yeah. Here, let me take the hat off and put my tinfoil hat on, But I mean, that's a very true observation, because when you said that it was a Jeep came up, they were dressed in khakis, the commando casual attire, and had shotguns, things like that. That's kind of a big thing, for sure.
Toshi the Wolf says, it's like I said, I bet those fat heads and hyena dogmen are something the government made and either escaped. Someone let the lock open.
Mm-hmm.
And Lene says, DA, I've listened to the Wild Hunt Meet Steve Lilly story about 100 times. I loved it. Thank you so much. I'm really glad you like it. I'm going to be doing more with Cam very soon.
Here's one.
Oh, Cam.
Oh, yeah. No comment.
That's without cryptids getting involved.
Yeah, that's no comment on that one.
All right, Werewolf, you're going to bring the wrath of the satellite on us, man.
That's
right.
right.
I'll do that. Yeah.
Northwood says, there's more on the UFO stuff I stumbled across. I sent the link to DA on that. Awesome. I will check that out. We're going to have to do another UFO show soon, because so much more stuff keeps coming to light.
Yes. I agree.
Silver Foxtrot says, my family tried to tell me it was a bear, but not one of them would go down there and even smell how bad it was.
You go down there. No, you go down there.
Yeah, I'm going to pass.
I'm good.
No, Joe, your experience was traumatic. How would you like to have a family of Bigfoot traumatizing your house and destroying it?
I couldn't even imagine. I could not even imagine that. I've heard a lot of things about the Bigfoot having people having problems.
I got a buddy that we're going to have on the show. His dad's sick right now, but he lives here in Florida. He's having nothing but problems. This thing, and DA and Doc know it. They've seen the pictures.
Yeah.
I mean, this thing is destroying throwing rocks at them. It's just craziness. And I spoke to them the other day. It broke the back window. It threw a rock the size of a bowling ball through the window, in broad daylight. This is the kind. Thank God you only experienced this, and not just him, but other people are going through around the country.
I can't imagine living around where these things want to harass you. I could at least get away from it, and I haven't had a problem since.
Right.
One thing I've noticed is once you've had an experience that makes that switch flip, and you go from being somebody that thinks they exist to somebody that knows they exist, you start noticing more things.
Right.
And it's not just like things in the woods. It's like almost like your subconscious is looking for it. Like, for example, I own a Nissan Rogue now. I know this is apples and oranges here. Before I owned a Nissan Rogue, I couldn't tell you ever spotting one on the road. Just didn't even notice them. Now that I own one, I see the damn things everywhere. It's just one of those things that when your brain starts subconsciously looking for things, you find signs where you never would have seen them before.
Right.
And after my experiences that I've had in the woods, I can go to an area and go, yeah, we're gonna have something happen here. And then other times I'm like, there's not a damn thing around here. You just kind of get attenuated to it.
I have noticed that myself. I've been in the woods where now that I see places where Bigfoot look like have been, because I know what they do. And you'll see twisted trees, trees just twisted right off at waist level. How does that happen? Well, there's only one thing it can be.
Right. Some people will say, "Oh, it's snowfall, it's snow weight, it's."
Oh, there's no way.
No, I know that.
No way.
Me being from up north, and Doc and DA knows from up north too. I mean, no, I've seen snow weight and snow weight on a tree where it just bends it right down from the top. Not when it's broken mid chest or above your head where it's snapped off clean, the one property that DA's friend owns that we had on the show. And then the guy walked out in the tree in the backyard. I mean, the tree was about that big around.
Yeah, I still got the image.
Yeah, it was snapped right off. I mean, just boom, clean. On this guy's property, and they caught something on their security cam. That's it right there, Joe. Look at that.
Mm-hmm.
You see that picture, Joe?
Not only was it snapped, it was put into the crook of another tree.
Yeah. I've seen similar and even more tore up than that in the woods up here, and then I would have probably never noticed before.
Right. It's like what DA said. You're more aware now of what's going on around you, and you're picking up on. Like, if you never noticed it before, you'd walk right by it. Right. You'd be like, it's nothing.
You should have seen Angie's eyes when I showed her those pictures after our podcast on the pictures in that video. Her eyes got as big as saucers, man. She was like, "Holy crap!" Like, yup.
Yeah, I mean,
that video is stunning.
Yeah, you'll notice a lot of things. Oh, Shane's here.
Hey, Shane.
Hey, buddy. Yeah, kids football practice.
Hey, man, family first, always.
That's it. Family's more important. Don't worry about the Dogman. They'll always be there.
Joe, do you think that had you not reacted the way you did, we already suspect that it was an ambush, but do you think had you not reacted the way that it did, their plans were probably more violent, that it might have been more than just a distraction?
I think so, because this one that I was looking at, I know he was probably distraction, but he was probably doing everything he could to keep my attention on him, because another one might have been, where I wasn't looking.
You guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
What's up?
But
I think DA has audible.
I got it. I somehow disconnected my headset.
Oh, okay.
It suddenly, I was like, why am I suddenly quiet? I looked down, it was unplugged.
Yeah, I do believe though that I was being distracted, and the one that I was paying attention to was doing everything to keep my attention on him, and he he wanted to get at me, but I think he was playing the role to be the distractor though, because he could have his arm was long enough, I think, but he wouldn't have been able to see what he was doing because he would have he could have reached me, but if he would have done that, he couldn't have had his eyes on me, looking back on it now. So they were kind of relying on someone else to grab me from my driver's side. I think.
I know you said it before. How fast were you going in the truck? Rough estimate.
25 to 30. It would be top.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Silver Foxtrot asking, I know you've addressed this. Did you smell anything at all? You said he looked well groomed, but
no smell, no sound, nothing. I was just getting, he was sneering and everything, but I didn't hear a growl or any kind of a sound out of him at all, other than you could hear his feet, kind of a little bit of a pounding of his feet. But It was very, very slight, though. Very, very slight.
You hit this thing. You shot this thing on a run when it was running next to the truck.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It was. When I shot him, we were doing probably 25, 30 miles an hour. That's why he did the dirt nap roll, I guess you would call.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You said when you turned around, your intention was to go back and run over it just to make sure it was dead?
Yeah, I was going to tear the truck up. I knew that, but you know what? I wasn't worried about it.
Right.
In the headspace I was at the time, I was just thinking, it's got to die. I got to make sure it's dead, because I can't have this thing in my head not knowing if it's dead or not. And I was in a mind space that's not normal for me anyway. Of course I wouldn't. And I didn't care if I tore the truck up. It was just kind of like I was in beast mode or something like that at this point.
That's your primal brain kicking in, man. That's survival right there.
Right.
I mean, I agree with Northwoods. The only sound I'd have heard would have been my bowel and my bladder and bowels empty. The only smell was me wearing my brown pants.
well, I didn't know it, but I had part of that happening. I did have my pants were soiled and wet from, urinating, and it's never happened before, and I didn't even realize it, and I had all that going on, didn't even know it.
Yeah.
Too, so
that's part of the body alarm response, man. When you come into a stressful situation like that, your body responds in ways that you have never thought possible.
Flight. Right, fight or flight. That's how it usually reacts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why they train you. So that's why when everybody goes, "Why is boot camp so hard? And why is all this train?" Because they they mentally prepare you for that one moment in time when you do encounter, a hostile. When you're in a hostile environment, they do prepare you. That's the whole thing. Your body's going to react. And I'm not going to say it. A lot of people do go into shock. For the first, they're like, "Oh, there's bullets and this and that," and
Well,
I mean, and that's just it.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, Joe. Go ahead, man.
No, go ahead. I just wanted to say that, I've had a little experience in the military, and so I do know that my military training had at least a little bit to do with it, because I realize the training I've had, and I have done a lot of things in my life that I would have never done without that being in my background, and I know that. Mm-hmm. So I think that had something to do with it, at least a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's honestly why you reacted to the situation in the manner that you did, was because had you not had that training, it could have been a whole lot worse. What if you'd have panicked? What if you'd have wrecked your truck or something like that? You weren't paying attention to the road. I mean, you were doing as many multitasks as possible. You're keeping your truck in a straight line. You're looking at this thing, and you're pulling your gun and engaging the threat to yourself all at the same time. that's a lot of crap to compress in milliseconds. You know.
Yeah, I know, and I've thought about that many times. That's why I do believe, because of training so much and drilling things in your mind, like over and over and over to make it like second nature. Me going through a few things, that were real. It prepares you for those really, and nothing like this I never could have thought. But I think it's even worse than any kind of combat. But it still helps. I think it's got to help. And after I had to fight, after I realized, well, I'm not gonna fight or flight. I'm definitely not gonna be able to flee from this. So I'm gonna have to fight now. And so you just go into automatic. And then after I got it to the point where I thought I was winning, I wanted to finish it.
Yeah. It like I said, man, it's all about that survival instinct. Like Anthony said, fight or flight. And you were fortunate to be able to do both at the same time with your right foot on that accelerator.
Right.
Yeah.
You're getting to certain predicaments, and other people are not used to getting in, like DA, when he was on the road, or like, I don't know how I would react in a trauma situation like Doc would react. He's used to dealing with it. I wouldn't, my mind would be racing. He's so used to it, it's become second muscle memory to him. Just like right.
You rise to the level of your training.
Right. I mean, just like with me with the firearm, it's muscle memory. It's just boom. You just normally whack. You just out with it, and that's it.
Yeah.
And you'll see other people just pull it out, and they're like, they're shaking all over the place. It's all in how your mindset is once you go through certain things. I don't know if I could do what Doc does. I'm not, squeamish to blood, but I don't have the confidence, to do what he does. I've never been trained that way to do that stuff. It's certain things, like we said. You just go with your environment around you, and you adapt to what you know. So.
Yeah.
I hear you, man. I hear you. You never know how you're going to react until you're in that situation. 100%.
That was the last thing I ever thought I'd have to confront. Believe me, who would ever, especially if you've never heard of one before. That's why I thought, I really did at first after it happened, and I really did think that I must have went into like some kind of portal or something. I really was thinking that for real, at first.
You might have had a mild shock. You might have went into mild shock, man.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing too, Joe. I mean, if you've got folks who are out in the woods actually seeking these things out, and something happens, they may have an inkling of an idea of how they hope to react, but you had never had any experience with these things whatsoever, and all of a sudden, there it is. You're welcome.
Like you said, you've never seen one or heard about this before. You know, so when you seen this thing, right away, you just, what the hell am I seeing?
Right.
Yeah,
what is this?
It was a moment in time that I can't even describe
exactly
in words what that's like.
I hear you, man. I know exactly what you're talking about.
I got 2 words for you, brother. Life changing.
Yeah. Joe, how has this affected you? Like even now, going like into the woods or being out on the road?
Well, it's always in the back of my mind, always. But I do realize at the same time that what's the chances of that happening again is probably 0, really.
I would say never. It's never 0.
Well, I would say maybe that's a little bit too hopeful, but I'm saying it's pretty slim anyway at best. So I'm not going to let it change me fundamentally how I was before. I think even though I'm aware of it, at least I'm aware of it and I'm ready for it. And I think if it ever does occur again, by some slim chance, if it ever does, I at least will be in the right headspace for it. I think at least, that much.
Well, that very first time is a complete paradigm shift. It's indescribable. I mean, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, but I'm talking mainly to the people that are listening. Once you've had that sighting, Anthony, how did you feel after the creature you saw in the scope? How shook were you?
I wasn't shaken. I was just more. I didn't know how to compute it. I didn't know how to analyze what I was seeing at first.
But did it not fundamentally change the way you looked at the woods?
Oh, now I do. Yeah, I mean that's what we talked about. Now when I'm out or we go anywhere, I've never taken my firearm fishing with me. And now when
I always did for snakes.
Right, but I never did. But and now when I go, even with John, it'll always be with me or on my side, or in the truck with me in my bag or something. It just when I looked at it through the scope, it was just like, what am I looking at? Like I didn't notice it until it turned its head, and it was only 150, 200 yards out, and I had a pretty nice scope on that rifle. It was pretty clear. I mean, it's everything now. Even when I go out in the backyard here, I mean, when I go out in the backyard at night to do the laundry on the patio, I'm always like, I'm looking around, but any little noise, man, I'm like, popping up, because now you're aware of what's around. Now you know what's out there.
Yeah.
Before I didn't care. Like I said, I've been in them swamps and them woods when we would run dogs. I've been so far deep into them swamps, it would take us hours to get back on the swamp buggy, and we'd pull in at night. Okay, so I've run through that stuff. I've seen other stuff out there that I've done. I've ran into gators. I ran into wild hogs. I ran into black bear. None of that scared me. None of that bothered me. I've been in water with gators. It's nothing. What I seen out there was unexplainable. It's like what Joe said. It didn't compute right away. I didn't know. I wasn't fearful, but I was more aware.
Yeah.
And I didn't. We didn't go back. That was the last time truly went hunting, like really, really into the woods where I didn't know where I was. I did hunting on my own property because it was my property. I knew what was there. I never went back there again.
Yeah. Well, it's like DA says too, man. It's a paradigm shift, and when you go from being the hunter to potentially being the hunted, that changes you, man, fundamentally. Yeah, and you're like you said, you're a lot more aware now than you would have been in the past had you never seen that thing.
Well, it's like other things too, like at the camp. People. You're hunting with a bunch of guys, and you guys know this from being. Everybody plays jokes on everyone. Everybody, messes with you. I mean, there would be stuff. Somebody hitting the side of the trailer, and you think it's the guy next to you messing with you, or the cooler would be gone through, and we thought it was raccoons, or it would be, why the dogs? Like we know, notice stuff now. The dogs are hiding under the trailer. You got hunting dogs; they don't hide, not like that. They're not skittish. And you pick up on all these things now. You're like, wait a minute, what's going on here? What's bothering these dogs? What do you say?
That's something, Joe, I've got to give you props for. I mean, it's to be able to. I know it was just a reaction, but the fact that you were able to, under those such tense circumstances, to be able to score a hit. Because it's one thing when you're putting holes in paper, and it's another thing when death is staring you right back in the face.
Yeah, well, that's another thing too. Is I'm a gun enthusiast all my life too. My dad was a gun collector. I'm a gun collector. Yeah. I shoot all the time. I try to go to the range and shoot. And I know it's different in real life, but when it's second nature to hit your target, and you're you're trained you shoot. Well, I try to train to shoot fast and accurately, and I do shoot a lot. I mean, I do. It's like my hobby, So there's that too. I'm not average person as far as a shooter. I'm pretty good, So I never probably said that before, but I'm a pretty good shot anyway. So that I'm sure that helped as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I teach this to my students when I teach them basic firearms fundamentals. I'm like, look, if you get really good and shoot for accuracy, and you're a great shot, even under stress, at best, your accuracy will degrade 40 to 50% at best. And so even if you're a great shot under stress, you'll still be a pretty good shot.
Aim small, miss small.
And you'll make that hit, because you can't ever shoot fast enough to catch up. You can't ever miss fast enough to catch up,
Yeah, I usually shoot at steel targets most of the time,
right?
But yeah.
Wyatt Earp once said, "Fast is fine, but accuracy is everything."
Yeah,
that's right. It's final.
Yeah. And I carry heavy weaponry. Besides, I used to never carry a rifle or a shotgun. I just carried, a sidearm, because I have a concealed carry license, so I'm always carrying. But now I always carry. I do have a 450 Bushmaster AR at a carry, or the 12 gauge with Reneke slugs. That's what I'll get to that. If I can get to that first, that's when if they come against anything like that again, at least I got that available if I can get to it.
Yeah, they used to drill it into our head in the academy that your pistol's job was for you to fight your way to your rifle.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Silver Fox asked me a question about Hornady. For a 450, I noticed the best loads for a 450 Bushmaster or a SOCOM 458 are the Buffalo Bore hard cast rounds. Better than the Hornady rounds. So no, not just Hornady shoots out of that. I mean, you could shoot, but the best stuff I've ever seen was that Buffalo Bore round stuff, the hard cast.
Yeah, I think, those are what I have in mind.
Yeah.
That's what I have.
So, I mean, it depends on the ammo, it depends on the shooter, it depends on, shot placement, that's the whole thing.
Yeah, that is the whole thing, but I want to make sure it's got a lot of penetration. Oh, yeah.
Oh, and that'll penetrate, trust me. A Buffalo Bore hardcast, that'll penetrate.
Yeah, that's what I have, and I know my gun cycles them well, too, so I make sure that.
I mean, those Hornady rounds ain't no joke either. So
Yeah. Oh, it's all nasty if it's 450 Bushmaster, but.
Oh, yeah. I mean, even the SOCOM round, you're looking, you're actually looking almost at it's equivalent to a 45-70 in a shorter casing. It's coming down range at you. I mean, that thing is devastating.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a question for you. What kind of some Silver Foxtrot, Anthony? What kind of ammo do you shoot out of your 450?
I just said the hardcast Buffalo Bore rounds are the best ones to use.
That's the same ones I use. Same one.
For penetration wise, I mean, the ballistics that I showed DA that day, it was just devastating stuff. Devastating. I mean, the Hornady rounds with even the Lehigh defense rounds, and they're good. Like you said, you want penetration.
Yeah,
you want something to just go.
We can sit here and talk ballistics and bullets and firearms all night. You get me on a tangent, and I'll talk about guns till the cows come home. But the point of the whole exercise here, when we're talking about penetration on bullets and different trajectories, what we're talking about here is being able to defend yourself like Joe did.
Right.
If you're going cryptid hunting, if you're going camping, hunting, fishing, you've got just as much, if probably not more, danger from the greater North American meth head than you do from most animals. But you still have animals out there that can and will eat you. So whatever you're doing, if you're going to be away from a town where there's basic 911 services, if you're going off the beaten path in any way, shape, or form, take something to defend yourself. Even if it's a walking stick. If you don't believe in firearms, take at least something like a walking stick. Carry a good knife. Never underestimate the value of a good pocket knife. Take a med kit. I recommend Dark Angels over here. Best kits I ever carried one throughout my law enforcement career. Those kits are lifesavers. And if and when you're going out, tell somebody where you're going and when you're supposed to be back. And I don't mean the guy that's going with you. I mean someone that's not coming with you. That way, if for some reason you don't return, somebody knows where to look and when to start looking. Because you get back in some of these hills and valleys, cell phones don't work. And unless you've got a sat phone, you're probably going to be away from anything, even 911, because cell phones for 911 will ping off the closest tower. But if there is no tower, you're getting no signal out. So yes, definitely make a plan. Let somebody know where you're going. Take a med kit. Take something to defend yourself. Take basic survival equipment. I can't, you can get like flint strikers that for starting a basic fire. Get a couple of Mylar space blankets. They weigh next to nothing. Those will save your life in a cold situation. They are fantastic. And as Doc also pointed out, they will also block IR. I mean, if you wrap one around you, you won't show up on an IR scope. But they're multi-role, but they weigh next to nothing, and they can save your life if you're in a situation where you're very, very cold or hypothermic. But take basic survival equipment. Get a life straw. Life straw is one of the best investments you can make. $20, you throw it in your backpack or throw it in the trunk of your car, and this life straw will filter up to 100,000 gallons of water. You can stick one in a mud puddle and drink straight out of it. It's purified water. Basic survival equipment in situations just like what Joe was in. Joe reacted and saved his own life. In cases where something like that is around you, or something worse, be that a cryptid or somebody that's intent on doing you and your family harm, that reaction time and that preparation will save your life.
Right.
Amen.
I just posted Doc's thing up there.
Thanks, Anthony.
Somebody was asking for it, so.
Yeah, I think it was Pink Dahlia.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fire, water, food, and shelter, man. That'll help you out.
And throw that back up there one more time. If you are going to go over to Dark Angel Medical, make sure you go to darkangelmedical.com and use the discount code Cryptid25 for 25% off your order. Folks, I'm telling you, they are the best kits in the business. You can go on Amazon and get cheaper ones, but they aren't worth a crap. You want a kit that's designed for the situation you're going to need it for. And they've got multi-levels of kits for civilians, law enforcement, and military-grade kits. I carried a law enforcement kit, and I am so grateful. Hell, my wife is grateful for me carrying one of those kits, because the odds are that kit was there to save my life.
Yep. Amen to that. Amen to that. Joe, thank you for being here with us.
Yeah,
brother.
Joe, thank you so much, man. Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Thank you for coming in.
Oh, yeah, it's my pleasure.
I appreciate you so much coming on, brother. Anytime you want to come back, you just let us know. But we usually go around 2 hours. We're just a little over that now. And again, I want to thank everybody for coming on. Joe, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I appreciate you, man. Again, remember, make that plan. If you're going to go out, even if it's just hunting or fishing or camping, you're not anything cryptid related, make that plan. Make sure somebody knows when you're going to be, where you're going, and when you're going to be back. Take a kit. And also you can go on Dark Angel Medical's YouTube channel and learn basic skills that you would definitely need to know, like how to apply a tourniquet. That in and of itself right there could be the difference between life and death.
Or come to one of our classes.
Or come to one of their classes. Sign up on darkangelmedical.com and come to a class. What is it you always say, Doc? Be the difference?
Yeah, be the difference. I say a lot of stuff, man.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm even astounded at what comes out of your mouth. I'm like, I'm going to write that one down.
Me too, man. Me too.
I said something the other day, and it was one of your euphemisms, and my wife goes, "Where the hell did you hear that?" Doc said it.
That's a docism.
That's a docism. That's right there.
Mercy.
But again, folks, thank you guys for coming. And if you haven't had a chance to swing by, and I know I'm shameless plugging here, but I've got a new Dogman story up on the Patreon community. If you guys want to check it out, it's over at patreon.com/DA Roberts Author. It's a brand new Dogman story, unreleased anywhere else. The only place you're going to find it is over there. I've got more short stories coming. I kind of sent a snippet to some of the guys last night. Tombstone says you need Dark Angel Medical here in Australia.
Yeah.
I wish.
Cowboys 5 Ring says, where's Doc located? You're in Colorado, correct?
Colorado.
Ship anywhere to the continental United States.
Yeah.
Lorna Cat says, Joe, thank you for sharing your story. Yeah, again, Joe, thank you so much for coming on, man. It is such an awesome story. I'm really honored you would come on and tell your story on here.
It's my honor and pleasure too, DA, and it was really great to talk and meet you, Anthony, and Doc as well. So
yeah, my pleasure, man. Thank you.
I enjoyed meeting you at the Dogman convention in Paris, Tennessee too. That was really good to sit and talk with you.
Yeah, not only you, I met you and so many others, and it's just amazing how this community in this field and space is so accommodating and family-like, that I, at least in my experience,
there are a lot of good folks out there.
Yeah, there sure is. I never really thought I could meet so many good people and supportive people in one place, and you are absolutely one of those too. Yeah.
Thank you, man. I sure appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Folks, if you didn't get a chance to go to that Dogman Dogman conference, you can check this one out. It's called Fall into the Supernatural. It's going to be in Lexington, Missouri, which is not far from Kansas City, Missouri. It's just off the highway. I'm going to be there when we doing a cryptid presentation. I'll have my books there, and we're doing a Bigfoot bonfire event on Friday night. And you can buy tickets to all of that at eventbrite.com/fall into the supernatural, or just go to eventbrite.com and put in the little search bar, put fall into the supernatural. It'll take you right to the page. All of this is going to proceeds from this go to a charity called the Focus Program. And it's a great program. And I'm happy to be supporting this event, and hope to see a bunch of you there. Tickets are still available. It's the weekend of, actually it starts on the 22nd. This says 23rd and 24th, but it's Friday, Saturday, and some events on Sunday. So you can sign up for all of the events. There's camping available. There's accommodations all around that ranch. So hope you guys will check it out, and we'll hopefully see you guys at Fall into the Supernatural. We've got other events coming up too, but we'll talk about those at a later time. But hope we will see you guys there. And again, if you're going out, be careful. Make a plan. Let somebody know where you go. Take a med kit. Take something to defend yourself. Get yourself a good knife. And it's those little vital tools will help not only save your own life, but the lives of those you care about that are with you.
Scallywag. We have no affiliation with them. We don't get money from them. They're good. I'm telling you, they're a good knife.
They are fantastic knives. Craig, it's a veteran-owned company, just like Dark Angel, and I'm all about supporting veteran-owned companies because these guys gave everything for us, and I'll give a little bit back if I can. Meg says post the Patreon link. Okay, let me find it real quick. Yeah, there we go. You can join the Patreon community at patreon.com/DA Roberts Author. Again, that new Dogman story's up, and I'm working on another one that hopefully I'll have done in the next couple of days, and it'll be up on the Patreon community as well. Look for one of those stories to be narrated soon by Josh Nanochi over at What Lurks Beneath, and the other will probably be a Cam Buckner story. So I'm sending some short stories to Cam, and we've got a lot more stuff coming out, more books, more things going on, and a lot of new plans coming on in the DA verse. So watch for all of that. Thank you guys for joining us. You guys are amazing. We are so grateful to have each and every one of you with us on this wonderful Wednesday night. And I'm stumbling over my words again. Blah, 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 blah. I'll get it out eventually. Thank you all for joining us. We hope to see you guys on Saturday night. With some of the conventions coming up, we won't be doing every Saturday night, but at least the next couple we will be. So we'll look for to see you guys on Saturday night. And again, appreciate you guys spending time with us. You guys are awesome. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a wonderful night, and we will see you guys on Saturday night. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Thank you for joining us. Catch us again Wednesdays and Saturdays on DAX Machina. A special thanks to all our channel members and Patreon supporters. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe.